Hey, Editor Peach here. So, the video file I had for this episode got corrupted, so I had to make something on the fly. Forget the scuff. But, yeah, other than that, spoiler warning for Part 2's chapters 4 through 7. As long as you're okay with that, please enjoy the show. Hello, Captains! Welcome to another episode of Captain on the Bridge. Today we're here to talk about chapters 4 through 7, because we kind of forgot to record the last few chapters. But, we have a few special guests today. We have Aja, also known as Board Archivist on Twitter.com, Captainplayshonkai, and khairznewtype. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Captainplayshonkai. I'm a theorizer here on YouTube, and I just like to talk about the game and my thoughts on it.
I'm Aja, and I used to post a lot of lore. That's it.
Hello, my name is khairznewtype. I stream Honkai Impact stories on my YouTube and also do character design ranking.
But yeah, so what about you, Marty?
Me. Hi. Welcome to Hyperion Team. It's me. You've seen me before.
Yeah. Nothing like the familiar faces amongst these episodes. But yeah, what are your guys' opinions on the recent story arc after 3EX?
It was really good. I really like the way the story is going.
I feel like this new format that they've gone in, well, in terms of just like keeping things a lot shorter, means that every 3 or so hours there's like some new big cliffhanger, and it's done a lot for people's attention spans. I'll say that.
Yeah. I think, like, okay, in terms of, like, stories for, like, live gacha games, I think that 4 hours is, like, the good, like, 3 to 4 hours is the good sweet spot. Like, having it be longer than that, you start losing some people. But, yeah, freaking, I just think, dude, after they did the whole reveal with the simulation, I know it's, like, it's kind of controversial, because, like, I know some people were just like, oh, what's the point of, like, everything else before that? But, I don't know, I'm just sitting here going, like, okay, there's probably some sort of play going on. Like, of course, like, technically, everyone from, like, the last cycle doesn't really remember us now, but, like, at least, like, whenever me and Marty talk about it together, like, on our own time, we're just like, I don't feel like they would make it completely worthless what we went through in the first cycle. And plus we found out so much information, and then, like, oh my gosh, these last few chapters have just been like lore bomb after like lore bomb, and I'm sitting here like, what is going on?
I think the Dreamseeker and some other characters from time to time just continue to bring up this idea that no, it does matter. Like, I experienced them. I went through them and it changed me as a person, so like it's still important in some way. Dreamseeker in chapter 7 specifically, when she's in the library with Durandal, just talks about that it gives her some sense of comfort to know that she's destined to meet those people again. So I think they're going to continue to build on the relationships that were developed with like the 7 shoes, like going into the future. It's just right now we're retroactively creating an arc to build up the characterization of the main cast.
Yeah, they needed it. They needed it so bad. Yeah. I just, like, I don't know. I feel like in the first, like, initial 2 arcs, or not 2, sorry. The first, like, arc initially, like, Helia and Corley were there, but they definitely didn't get to be their own characters, so I'm kind of happy to see that they're fleshing them out a little bit more this time around. Though, I can't help but be a little sad that I can't see the shoes for a little bit.
I know. It was like for chapter 3EX and chapter 4 and some parts of chapter 5, it was like we were with the 7 shoes like so much. And then now it's like, oh, where's Songchoi? We were so used to seeing her.
That's true.
Actually, what chapter was it where we got the Baiji backstory? Was it like 4 or 5?
That was
Yes.
chapter 5.
Chapter
Okay,
5,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should
But
probably
before-
talk about 4 before we start talking about everything
Before
else.
we get
though.
ahead of ourselves, maybe we should
Yep.
talk about each chapter sequentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so thoughts on chapter 4?
Chapter 4 was a fever dream in a good way, I'd say.
Yeah, I would like the whole thing with like, well, you know, first Dream Seeker finds out that it's a simulation, but also like, I don't know, just like that transition from like I'm pretty sure it was in 3EX where they showed off that Hyperion was like really trippy. I just remember like that scene, or like I play as male Dream Seeker just to see like what the differences are like in between, like, or if there were gonna be differences at all. And I feel like it's extra trippy if you play as male Dream Seeker, because like you hear like you know, like Entropy's voice, and you'll just be like, what the fuck? Oh, like that's not Kinsen. And then like it'll like change over, and then like the next chapter they're just like, oh yeah, like, you know, so we've been watching you this whole time. Like,
Yeah, like the dynamic completely changes in 3EX, and then 4 continues this feeling of disorientation. It's like the entire feeling that you have going through chapter 4 is just like confusion on self-identity and like what everything is going on, you know. And I think they did a good job of building on that, like what's that unease until the reveal at the end of chapter 4.
Oh yeah, the Layla reveal, right? Damn, that was something else. I because I think that's a part where the story gets back up again after we really struggle. Not struggle. It's more like we challenge ourselves through the first arc, and then we kind of get calmed down on the at the end of chapter 3, and then 3x is kind of like, it's the conclusion for the Songche arcs and all. And but then I was thinking like, what how are they gonna make this rise up again? I mean, more is how will they make this peak again? And but then I thought it was going to take a long time, which is we will be getting those things on chapter 5 or chapter 6, but no, just reveal Layla at the end of chapter 4. That's it.
yeah, they were just like, mic drop left. Like, yo, I remember when like I saw that and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, wait, hold up, this is so cool. I don't know, it just all of part 2 has just been like, they just like to, you know, fuck with your expectations. Like, you know, that's what it comes down to.
At least for this second arc, right? Because I think for me, okay, this is probably going to be a hot take, but I kind of like this arc more rather than the first arc, which is not helping because they have that chapter 1 and 2.
Mm.
But I prefer this
mean-
kind of progression more.
I think chapter 4 is really important because it's basically the second half of 3EX and chapter 4 are the only ones that have the Dream Seeker as like the main character. And Vita's there too, of course, and I'll talk more about Vita.
Oh my
But
god, Vita.
Chapter 4 is basically just the perspective of the Dream Seeker isolated and alone. And she has to kind of like wrestle with her own identity throughout the entire thing and her relationships with other people. She's put in a situation where she doesn't know who to trust. She doesn't even know herself. And then at the very end of chapter 4, it's revealed like who she is, you know. And it was like the characterization for the Dream Seeker that I think we really needed to give her, because the first arc of part 2 with the Dream Seeker, she's somewhat of a passive participant. You know, she's good natured, something that we learn, that she's, ready to help. That's her personality. But chapter 4 basically throws her into the deep and begins her own like character arc.
That's true.
Yeah, I also think that oh, the characterization of Dreamseeker kind of being like a sopping wet cat is kind of funny. She's like Senna.
Oh
Well, I
my
think it's
god.
funny because
I
because
did love when she became overly obsessed with Senna in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting because it draws the contrast between her and Layla. That Layla is the overly emotional one, while Dreamseeker Entropy is a lot more logical and a lot more grounded.
Mm,
And
mm.
the fact that Dreamseeker specifically draws attention to it, she's like, "Well, I still miss Senadina, but I'm not consumed by that same, you know, utter sense of loss that causes her to think irrationally." I think it's good for them to slowly build up the difference between the two.
So Mato Homu coded. Like, I don't know, a good chunk of part 2 has been like a lot of Madoka Magica. I also think that like okay, there's a lot of sci-fi elements in part 2, but it also kind of hits like that sweet spot of like a little bit of fantasy as well. Like, you get what I mean?
Yeah, it's still ultimately like a magical girl story, a
Yeah.
mecha magical girl.
Can they add more mechas?
Well, they did, didn't they? With
They
Vita's
added one big
mecha.
mecha with Vita. Okay, I need another one, please. I'm starving. Oh yeah, Aja, do you have any thoughts on chapter 4?
Honest to God, I barely remember what happened in chapter 4. Like, it's not because I didn't like it, it's because my memory has gotten so bad over time. I only remember
It's been a
the
long time.
most recent chapter with Helia crushing the fuck out. That's it.
Oh yeah, also the Sleepy Terry debut on chapter 4, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
didn't even talk about
Yeah,
Teresa.
let's
Oh
talk about
yeah.
Teresa.
Well, let's just quickly review. I think this is
Mm.
just gonna have to be off of memory for chapter 4.
Yeah.
But the way it starts is Dreamseeker on the run from Chenchua. She's about to get arrested, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's constantly like the world is constantly rebooting under Vita, and then Dreamseeker finds herself in jail, and so the first real cycle that they deal with is like this terrible world where all the shoes are dead and Songcho is just delusional.
Yeah.
And
And we gotta break her out of jail.
yeah, and then we got to break her out of jail, and then that simulation is somewhat cut short because Vita resets everything. And then I think after that we're thrust back into the real world on the Hyperion. And
Yeah.
that's where the infamous scene now of the deletion of the male Dreamseeker happens.
Oh.
When Vita, Teresa, and the Dreamseeker are all discussing. And I think that's the first time that we get a mention of what Ajita's doing outside of the system.
Oh yeah, when I saw Dr. Ajita in that document, I freaked out.
Yeah, that was like such a big like reveal of Ajita is like well beyond the small scope of the seven shoes, right?
Yeah.
And the idea that she was involved with the Dreamseeker system, you know.
So she will play a bigger role in the future, right?
Well, she already is now, isn't
Has
she?
to.
Yeah,
Like,
she already know. I mean, it's more like what do you call it? In probably just in case of the final battle with Layla or something, right?
I think we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Because
We'll
okay,
have
because to be fair, when Litos was introduced back in Arc 1, people was like, wait, what? Are we supposed to be, are we supposed to feel sad for this guy who's sacrificing himself for the better? And people are complaining, he doesn't have enough screen time, but now he came back with
coming back with a vengeance, bro.
yeah, coming with
Like,
vengeance, man.
dude, I just think that scene where like he like his soul literally comes back from the dead to like, you know, fight off like perception. That shit was crazy.
Oh, back
Yeah.
in chapter 3, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
and then
true.
like they kind of like recontextualize him like again in what chapter 5 or so?
6 something.
6.
Yeah,
Okay, it
I
was
feel
6.
like
Yeah.
the understanding of Litos is constantly shifting. Like as a character,
Even
he's very
he's our biggest
complex.
op right now. Like,
He's incredibly complex. But before
Yeah.
we get to that, we're still on chapter 4.
yeah.
The another important thing that chapter 4 really introduces is the relationship of Dreamseeker to the old Hyperion crew, right? So
Oh,
Teresa comes back and becomes like, you know, another mentor figure for Dreamseeker. And like I think what's really interesting to me in the beginning of this arc is that Dreamseeker is suddenly like one and the same with our old friends, right? Like she considers herself an alien, but really quickly she's developed a friendship with Klein, with Prometheus, with May, with Teresa. She's interested in the
Bronya.
story of part 1, Bronya. Um, and I think that was really really important. That I think chapter 4 was like a turning point where suddenly the old story, the old characters were no longer like this completely separate thing. You know, they were all working towards the same goal starting in chapter 4.
I mean, that's what people want, right? Like, where's the old character? Here it is. Here they are. They're still here.
No, I know there was like a dev interview or something that like mentioned, oh yeah, after like you know, chapter 3 or something, they would like add like a character from Schicksal and like and me and Marty were just going like, who at Schicksal is gonna come over to like part 2?
Yeah, at first I
And-
was like, "Oh, Teresa's busy. You know, she's got to be the overseer and stuff." But no, like she was
Apparently not.
Obviously that
was
wasn't an
Teresa.
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just too busy arguing with Vita all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, everyone hate Vita.
Dude, Vita's building ops right now. Like, holy shit.
I think as our bridge into chapter 5, we can talk a little bit about Vita and the role that she played in chapter 4 and chapter 5.
God, okay. It was like Teresa, and then like who came after Teresa in terms of like battlesuit releases? Was it Vita?
Vita,
It
yes.
was
Okay.
Vita who came
Okay.
right away.
Yep.
But
So,
like,
so
oh my
chapter
gosh.
4 was like Vita's big reveal, right?
Yeah.
So we of course have been building up Vita all the way from part 1.5. You know, she was a much beloved character.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
chapter 4 just continued to like build on the expectations that we had of Vita being this sinister type character. But of course, the interesting thing about Vita in chapter 4 isn't that she is like a hateful character. You know, she is someone who's she constantly was trying to remind Teresa and Dreamseeker in chapter 4, like, hey, we need to stay on task, right?
Yeah.
We need to like, are you guys not concerned about what's going to happen? You know, and then it turns out in chapter 5 that no, like them messing around in the two worlds was like her fault in the first place.
Yeah.
But Vita is like deeply concerned about the end game, and she's not afraid to use her status as like a villain type character to get there, you know.
Oh
She
my
will do
gosh.
anything she can.
That one like animated short that they put out for Vita, like the one specifically where she's fighting with Layla in it, like that offered so much good food, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I
for
know
a minute
technically
Vita was really like in it, you know.
yeah. It's like number 1, it's beautifully animated. Number 2, like it offers like a lot of context, and I know that they're trying to like stray away from using promotional material to communicate lore, but like I don't know. Like when I watched that, I was just like my thoughts were running wild for like a second because I was just like, yo, like, I don't know. Vita's cool.
Yeah. Maybe one by one. Let's just talk about your personal thoughts about Vita, starting from the top.
Me again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what do you think about Vita?
I love Vita. I fucking love Vita. I remember the very first time I saw her design back when we were in a 1.5 prologue. I was like, you're gonna be my favorite character. And she was. I especially like how they use her character because, in a way, every single character that we observe through the story is a fundamentally good person, one way or another. They may have flaws, but they're not like villains. But Vita, she's not afraid, like you said, whoever said before, she's not afraid to use her position as a villain previously to get to what she wants. I really like that. And also her design is just so good. So good. Because I remember back when they were putting out all these designs with white and purple. And I was like,
yeah.
enough of the fucking purple. I can stand it. And then I saw Vita and I was like, oh my god, it's just so peak. It's just so peak. She's perfect. I love her in every way.
Yo, I'm kind of glad that they kind of cooled it on using the white and purple pink palette.
Well, thank God, because I mean, it's good one time, it's good 2 times, it's good 3 times, but when
I'll put it
everybody
in succession. Okay.
Yeah, we're back in a more varied palette now. Captain Plays, what do you think about Vita?
I love her. I think she's 100% innocent all the time, and anyone who says otherwise is a liar.
Vita did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Captain Plays.
Vita
Ichan would
did
agree.
nothing wrong.
Ichan would agree with you.
In her honor.
Vita worshipper right here.
Karis, what do you think about Vita? Oh, actually, no. Captain, finish your thought.
Captain, finish, Captain.
But I do think she's a really interesting character on a serious note. And I would like to see how she's developed further into the story.
Yeah. I feel like, especially with, like, her, like, going up against, like, Layla, of all people. Well, you know, we know that Dreamseeker is, like, related to Layla in some way, you know? Like, it gives, like, the dynamics of, like, Sa and Vita in that sense. And maybe that's why Vita's such a hater.
Yeah, Vita definitely can relate to the issues that, like...
Yeah, I do kind of feel like Dreamseeker and Vita have something in common when it comes into the, like, Saw, overpowered god type thing.
Absolutely. Karis, what's your thoughts on Vita?
I love her. I like her. But I do think like she's one of the character that cannot decide whether she wants to wear a pants with both long pants or just one short pant, one half short and one half long pants. So yeah, that's one part that I'm confused about her. But then on the other side of the discussion, I think Vita is, from what other people usually say about her, that they love her and stuff. For me, I also love her, of course. But then again, she is one of the character that kind of scheming and conniving something behind everyone's back. Even we as a player cannot really actually, sorry about that. Cannot actually figure out what she's planning to do. Of course, because the information that were given to us player is nothing much than every character hated Vita at this point. And so yeah, I think that's it from me because overall I just love Vita. That's it. Also, I just need for them to consistently put her on at least a half short pants and a half long pants. That's it.
Well, I think actually the topic of her wearing pants or not, I feel like somewhere they mentioned that it's because of how fickle she is. She's constantly changing her tastes and what she is interested in, and her changing clothes constantly is like a reflection of that. That Vita is
Yeah.
someone who is never quite satisfied with her
So-
situation.
So what does that mean by changing her pants like unconsistently though? Like
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is that she?
Yeah.
I think she mentions that
She's
she's
really
always
picking up
changing to
pants.
fit like what makes her feel right in a moment.
okay. All right. understand.
Sometimes both pants she feels fits like for the mood, and other times pants off.
I mean only half. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't. Besides, we're gonna get demonetized if you say that, Marty.
pants off, pants on, pants
Pants
off.
need to be
Sir!
off. She's gonna destroy an entire city at the end of chapter 4. Come on.
Oh yeah. She almost do that.
Oh yeah, since we're talking about Vita's outfit, what's your guys' opinion on the new Vita fit that's coming out?
Oh,
Uh,
gorgeous. Okay.
Dude. Like, okay,
Gorgeous, that's it.
I will say at first when I saw like the new Vita outfit, it was like I was just like, ew, yellow. But then like I saw like the rest of it, and I was just like, you know what? I could fuck with this.
Wait,
Like,
can I see any reference? Because I think I never see it properly.
she looks like a mischievous cat in her outfit, and I'm like, if that's what they were going for, that's perfect for a character.
Yeah,
oh, I was the snake. Like,
her concept is basically like an eldritch nun, priestess of some kind, and then they gave her predator eyes, yellow like cat-like eyes.
Oh, so that is for the pyramid scheme skin gacha thing, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
pyramid scheme,
pyramid.
gotcha. Multi-level marketing,
Multi-level
gotcha.
marketing gacha, yeah.
I'm gonna have to drop so much for that.
What are you saying, Aja?
I love this skin, but her legs feel so bare. Like her feet is white, alright, and her skin is also white. So it's like, oh, what am I looking at? I wish she had like tights at least. Some black on her legs would like do wonders. But I really like it. Besides that, the eyes are beautiful.
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's
actually,
a good concept.
I do agree with the at least having some black in there. I think if they at least added like maybe a gray gradient.
I'm gonna do
her
an
talking
ugly
wig.
Photoshop. Wait, I'm gonna use my mouse skills for this.
Hell yeah. But but also the patterns and stuff. I just saw a lot of people on Twitter going like, "Oh, like her design's based on like Taoist stuff," and we're just like, "Y'all, I need you to elaborate. I want to know, okay? Write that Twitter thread. I want to see it." Like,
So I think to wrap up the discussion with Vita, when Vita came back into the story, I feel like they didn't waste a single second of that. They put her into the limelight. They made her basically the secondary main character of the HSR collab, right? They made sure to make the most of everything that they had for Vita, which was the right play because I think people were like not so certain about certain characters, right? But when Vita came back, it was like she drove the story forward. She was really popular with people. She was like highly sought after. So it was a good thing for them at the time to make the most of Vita's moments back in the story.
Yeah, and her interaction with Ajita though is so priceless, man. I love every
oh, I
second of that.
love her interactions with Vegeta so much. Like,
Oh. An unstoppable force meets an immovable object. That's their
Yes,
vibe.
basically, yep.
Yeah, it's good to see Vita meet characters who can match her freak, right?
Oh,
Okay, well, let's talk about chapter 5 before we
okay.
spend too long on this topic. So, chapter 5, I'll briefly try to remember everything that happened. It's
Okay.
been some time, but chapter 5 is then the introduction of the Shu War. Of course, before that, all of that was the reveal of Layla. It's almost like we're glossing over that, but to be quite frank, we didn't have a lot of information other than
Yeah,
what
that's
happened
true.
at the end of chapter 4. So, chapter 5 is Vita actually telling us the name of Layla, and the Dream Seeker suddenly. Well, at the beginning of chapter 5, she's basically just like, "Oh, I know what she is. She's the Martian god," and so we learn that Dreamseeker has like some kind of mental connection to Layla in some way, and then Vita reveals that everything that they went through in chapter 4 was actually her doing. It's her fault because she re-entered the stage that had already been cleared, right?
Yeah.
But the Shu War was going to be the next important stage that they needed to clear. And I think that's still one of the questions that we haven't had answered yet through this arc all the way to the end is
We haven't had
what is
a lot of
what is
answers
it
yet.
that say it again? Oh well, yeah. There's a lot of questions we haven't had answered, but I think one of the things that we need to know is for what purpose were they sent to the Shu War, and what shadow calamity do they need to solve on this stage, right?
Yep.
So we enter into the Shu War and get a look at what Longzhou was like 100 years ago, and we get to meet some of the Shus before they've really like grown into themselves, right? So we have so many like good character moments with the Shus that give them further like build up. So I'll briefly talk about all of them, and then we can discuss the characters. So first we see Lantern as a rookie. Well, I'll say Saburai. She doesn't have the lantern.
Saburai, yeah.
Saburai is a rookie Lantern. We get to spend some time with her. We get to see Chen Shui as a younger person. She's like a delinquent character, right? Which is really interesting. We get to see Thelema briefly as just a young noble. We learn more about like her she's a little tsundere, right?
Yeah.
And you get a couple cute moments with Songchue, and then of course I would say the main character of chapter 5 is in some ways Baiji.
Baiji, yep.
We get to spend quite a lot of time learning about Baiji and who he was before he became one of the 7 Shus. He had a sister he deeply cared about.
Oh my god. That's...
and went through the anguish of losing his sister.
That hit me really hard unexpectedly.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So before
I
I
was
talk
crying. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And maybe it's because I have a little sister, even though my little sister's not a precious little angel, like, by Ling, but like, like, I was just like, so like, I'm mentally ill about them.
I mainly felt bad because this entire time before that, I've been theorizing that Baiji is the secret evil baddie.
I remember that. Oh.
It's okay. It was fun to listen to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think what's really interesting about the dynamics in Baiji's backstory is that it recontextualizes so much of his relationship with Songchue specifically, right? So
that's true.
Baiji has this younger sister who he deeply loves, who is, in every way like, his whole world, his only family left. And so when he loses by Ling, then Songchue comes into his life at some point, and you can see like the same love and care and devotion that he had for his sister projected onto Songchue, right?
Yep.
And it makes you understand why Baiji refused to kill Songchue in the last arc, that it was like a familial thing for him, it broke his heart to do something like that again.
And here I was back in back in Arc 1, I was, laughing at him because he got like chronic disease and coughing a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chapter 5 was so good for that. It really helped us understand so much of his dynamics, why he was sick, where his sense of melancholy really came from,
I
Now
feel
he's
so
not
guilty.
sick, he just has depression.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's lost a lot.
So it's also just
I,
like the mysterious. It's like so funny because like okay, so you get like the first chapter, Litos is kind of the bad guy. Then you get chapter 3, and Litos is like coming out from the grave, doing his shit, and like somewhat redeemed in a sense. And then like this chapter with Baiji, like you kind of get to see him being a little bit domestic with like Baiji and his family. And then
Yeah.
like chapter fucking 6.
yeah,
Okay.
yes. So
Like I don't
like
know, his
Litos
character is like
is this
constantly
enigma.
changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Litos is this character that you can't just cleanly define as like good or evil. And even in chapter 5, right? There's the scene where Litos is walking around with Bai Ling, and then Bai Ling's about to be attacked by some dude.
Mm.
And what does Litos do? He like vaporizes the guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the guy out of existence. I know what happened.
Yeah. So that was like, whoa, it's kind of scary. And I think there's this important line that Baiji gives in chapter 5 where one of his somebody asks him like, "What do you think about Litos? Do you think you could take him in a fight?" And Baiji was just like, "Bro, I actually don't know anything about the guy."
Oh yeah.
And that was I think a great setup for the rest of it.
We thought that they
Uh
are best friend or something.
yes.
Yeah. Chapter 5 was definitely a gateway into Litost being an evil guy he is in chapter 6.
Right, right. It was like chapter 5. I think doesn't necessarily have any big like shock reveal at the end or anything like that, but
Mm.
it was really important to establish all the character dynamics, right? So something else that chapter 5 does is it brings Coralie and Helia into the
Oh
limelight, right?
yes. There
Like
you
chapter
go.
5 was incredibly
Oh my god.
important for that.
It's so cute watching them, being, care for each other. Finally, we have like that kind of interaction between Coralie and Helia because everything on the first arc they ever did was, just talking, bantering on the background, and that's it.
Yeah, and sometimes they would bicker, right? And
Yeah.
they were kind of like comic relief characters in some
Yeah.
way in the first arc. While starting in chapter 5, you have a couple scenes where Coralie and Helia are discussing their mortality, right? And
Yep.
they talk about how their experience in Longcho the first time like traumatized them, right?
That's true.
And it first establishes the idea for Coralie that she's very concerned about death, you know?
Yep. And yeah.
Well, it should be easy for her not to die in the next chapter, right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, totally, guys.
totally.
I mean, we're recording this after the chapter 6 happened, but Coralie eats it. Uh, like
Sure, we
Yeah.
have we have a cute moment between them. Nothing gonna happen, right?
yeah, they like I'm gonna flash that one CG on screen and just be like, yeah, this nothing. It's like, oh my gosh, there's that one meme where it's just like a cute couple versus intimidating horse. Like Litos is the
Yeah.
horse, dude. Like
Yeah.
I think what was interesting is the chapter itself was such a big growth moment for Coralie in
Mm.
that you see the relationship that she had with Lantern, right?
Oh yes,
So
her
with
fight.
Lantern, like Coralie was gaining some more confidence, and she was suddenly in a situation where she was like Lantern senpai, right? And the
Mm.
way that she talked with Lantern was like, no, actually, I do want to be your friend, you know. And Coralie was well, the way Coralie is presented in the first arc, and the way they had her in the marketing material was that Coralie is like this tsundere who doesn't really make friends, right? And
Yeah.
that's also how she's presented in the prologue. But then by the time she's all the way in chapter 5, she's like actively trying to like build a relationship with the people around her. She's suddenly like telling Helia more openly about her feelings. She's more openly telling Lantern, like, I want to be your friend. And I thought that was just such a great show for Coralie, and she has that really cool cutscene at the end where, she's really happy and her tail's wagging after beating Lantern.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute, man.
Oh, I still think it's so funny how, like, when she does the training simulation, she's just like, okay, time to set the mood. And then, like, she's like, I think there's, like, the Cyber Angel is one, there's, like, the regular Lantern battle theme, and then, like, the third one is, like, the one that they always use for, like, the summer events. And I was just like, this is so unserious, what the fuck? Oh, and also, I don't know, I just feel like the general presentation, like, definitely goes up by, like, a lot, like, exponentially each chapter. Especially where it needs to be. Like,
yeah. With every chapter now is shorter, and I think it's really helped with the experience that we have right now. Also in chapter 5, I like how our big point about chapter 5 is all about the character of Baiji, the relationship between Helia and Coralie, and meanwhile the other people who plays Honkai Impact, well, not most of them, but maybe like a few of them have like this, sparkle moment as the big point of the chapter,
Oh, yeah.
which
I totally forgot.
yeah, which for me is, people back then before I start stream the chapter, right, people already screenshot a lot of that, that Sparkle and Vita screenshot where they held each other in their arms. So it was like, okay, so basically the chapter will be full of Sparkle and Vita moment. And then when I played the chapter, that's the only a small part of a bigger of another bigger part of the chapter 5, which is, I think, is not fair to not be taken consideration at all, because I think the biggest part of chapter 5 is what we discussed earlier, the Baiji characters, and then the relationship between Helia and Coralie. That is the big part. But then people never talk, sorry, not never, but people don't really talk about that because, hey, it's Sparkle, you see, she's from Honkai Star Rail, and she's with Vita. It's so unfair, man, for me.
yeah.
I think you're so right about that.
It's
Like,
bad, man.
see, I was recounting the whole chapter and I forgot about it. I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, that happened.
It's so minuscule. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just remember there's like that part, and then like the other HSR thing where like Kiana's talking with that memo keeper. But like,
I forgot about it too. Oh shit.
Oh,
I think
I
they'll
have
probably
nothing.
follow up on it sometime.
Yeah,
It's just
I have nothing
necessarily
against
follow up.
HSR. I'm just sitting here going like, dang, they could have capitalized on this more if they continued, or at least are like mentioned in a different chapter. But then again, like I guess looking back, at all the chapters and stuff in retrospective, I just feel that the HSR stuff kind of felt shoot in.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, and I'm just like, I kind of wanted to see them do more with that. Like,
yeah, it was like if they were gonna bring up Star Rail stuff, like don't just like halvesies about it. Like do something with it, do something interesting. And I don't think we really saw that this time.
HSR collab part 2 next year.
If we'll see future HSR stuff. I guess on that topic is like we need to see them build on, what of course the power scaling thing, right? What is
I hate
Kiana's
the power
relation
scaling thing,
to-
man. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, me too.
People arguing about power scaling. No, stop it, man.
I think having brought it up at all was like questionable, but it's there now, so I think they need to do something with it.
Yep, that's true.
But I think what was interesting about that entire interaction with the memo keeper is that Kiana was still in some way involved with what was going on. Like it's basically the latest up to date thing that we've seen of Kiana, like canonically in the story. Like in some way, Kiana is still consciously like doing something. So hope maybe the next time we see Kiana, it will like extend whatever that conversation was about.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple chapters now, and we haven't really seen her, so we'll
Yeah, but
we'll
then
see.
we gotta wait 8 weeks.
We'll see. We will see. Okay. Any other last thoughts on chapter 5?
I just remember about the Honkai style collab. I remember nothing else other than the fact that they're called Memo Keeper, Meme Keeper, because I thought it was funny. And
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny to like refuse to call her Sparkle, just synonyms of the word sparkle.
Did you
Yeah.
say Hanabi?
Firework.
I said twinkle, shimmer.
Oh, sunset shimmer, huh?
Oh
Twilight
god.
sparkle.
I
You know,
call I
we
call
already have Twilight Sparkle in Honkai Impact
yeah.
3rd, okay?
I call her Hanabi.
Hanabi.
Oh man.
Okay, well, chapter 6. Let me try to think about chapter 6.
Oh
So
my
chapter
god.
6 starts us with Durandal
Yep.
and Teresa in Ruimu. Ruimu, the city of eternal night. And we get to briefly see Durandal and Teresa helping out like a dojo. Just in small disputes and stuff.
Yeah.
And we see Durandal. Well, I can't remember all of the conversations, but Durandal has some time thinking about like, oh, what was I like when I was a child and stuff. And I think Teresa and Durandal have like this discussion about what was it, or Teresa's like, regretful that she's like, oh, if I had just known earlier, maybe I could have saved you from what Otto did. Right? They have a moment for that. And
Oh,
I can't quite remember what Durandal's response was. I can't remember.
totally
off the
forgot
top of
about
my
that.
head. Yeah. In any case, I think they, that this is a conversation that they never had in part 1.
Mm.
That Teresa and Durandal are kind of going through like that growth section together. So I don't remember what it said. So if someone wants to go back and review that, they're at liberty to do so.
I have the screenshot somewhere because the moment I see Otto mentioned, even though it's very dormant, I take screenshots like automatically. One moment. One moment.
It's no worries.
What was the name of that chapter again? It was I have it right
Stars
here.
wailed by
Whales
whale-
stifled by the silent shadow.
No.
Okay, I want to actually see exactly what
Okay.
what was said.
Meanwhile, you guys looking for that. I'm just going to comment about the. Okay, this may be a bit of a hot take. I don't know. Probably everything that I say is a hot take, but I think Ruimu city design, like the set piece design, is much more better than any other set piece design that they introduced in part 2. I
Oh
think
yes,
it's close to Oxia City, but I think Ruimu just take the cake up there, just take the top. I really
I
love
think
the set piece design.
Ruimo is really good because like it's just so dense, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I almost kind of wish that they had more time to like explore Ruimu, right?
Yeah.
There's so many details to it. I would love if like we knew more of the location. Okay, let's just see this. Yeah, so Teresa and Bianca, with you looking like you do now, it almost feels like the good old days. I sometimes wonder over the past few days that had I talked to you in person then, maybe I would have seen the truth a little sooner. Bianca says, maybe he thought of this as well. That's why he kept you at St. Freya, far away from the headquarters. Teresa says, the thought of being so close to the truth for so long and remaining oblivious the entire time really gets under my skin. If I had done my job better, you and Kiana wouldn't have had to suffer so much.
Oh my god.
I just really love that they had that moment, the
Yeah.
moment to just like discuss that briefly, And I think it leads into. I should get too caught up in all the other details. We need to like summarize everything.
Yeah.
So I think that leads into them taking care of of the martial arts studio, right? Bianca is like with that little girl, you know, making sure that she's okay, and that little girl has like an older sister who's like hanging out with Dreamseeker and the crew, and they all meet up in Rimu, and it's like a happy little reunion. And like the next scene is like the dojo, like the older sister, like about to get killed by Litost, right? And it was like,
Yeah.
to me, it was like such a whiplash, you know, is that it
Ooh.
was like, I think the chapter started out like kind of fluffy, you know, and then all of a sudden like death was on the table, right? And from the beginning, chapter 6 like takes the perspective of Helia and her sense of what's the word, inadequacy.
Frank? It can be inadequacy.
Yeah, that she feels absolutely inadequate in the face of, well, she's right next to her idol, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally the person that saved her life. You know,
Yeah.
way back when.
Yeah, and chapter 6 is like, you know, finally we're getting our Helia
Helia
story.
turned from an absolute nothing of a character to the main character.
Yeah.
Dark Horse,
Yeah.
bro. All these
Yeah.
pics are so Dark Horse. Like, holy shit.
I think what was interesting about Helia is that you know, the fact that she was in the background for the last arc actually kind of plays into her character a little bit, right? That
Mm.
she is not sure of herself, that she's a little bit like feeling that she can't do the things that the others can do, you know, and the fact that she didn't contribute as much to the last arc really played into like building up her feelings that she had in chapter 6, you know, that it's starting to come out like, I can't do anything, you know?
Do you guys remember the conversation that she had with her parents, where her parents said we need to live in a mediocre or something? Because
Yeah.
that kind of hit really close to home for me.
Yeah, because like her parents were just going like, "Hey, it's better to be a big fish in a small pond than like a small fish in a big one," you
Yeah.
know. And as a person with Asian parents,
Yeah.
you know,
Like that's
it,
devastating to hear, you know, for
yeah,
any child, for their parents to tell them like, don't dream big.
Yeah, man. It's the Oh my god. It when I play that I was like it feels I don't know, it's kind of resurfaced my memories about my childhood, but then again I'm kind of okay now. But for people like Helia, she probably have that in her mind because she's still a learning Valkyrie, right? She's still like A rank. Of course she wants to be better, but then every time she wants to be better, she going to be reminded of what her parents said. One of it. So yeah.
just ugh. I don't know. I just remember throughout the whole chapter, I know some people they'll be like, "Oh, I related with Coralie more. Oh, I related with Helia. I kind of related with both." Especially Helia, because like you know, at one point in my life, like I was like super perfectionist, you know, and like
Mm.
constantly trying to work really hard on like anything that I did, because I was just like, you know, is the only thing that felt like it gave me worth. And even then, I would get shit on all the time for it. And like, you know, I, like seeing Helia go through that arc, kind of, and I'm just like, man, like, oh,
Yeah,
it
it's a
just
pretty
reminded me
like
of that.
relatable experience, you know. I think a lot of people felt like, oh, Helia is a character like us mortals, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
I like that they're taking like these like mortal characters, because like we have a bunch of other Valkyrie characters, and like you know at the beginning Helia's very much just like, it just seems like she's just every other Valkyrie, you know,
Right, right.
like where she's like starry-eyed for Durandal and like working hard and stuff, but then like like this whole chapter just really explores like a lot of her like
Insecurity.
just, like insecurities, you know, because like you have characters like Susanna, like yeah, she has insecurities, but like it's not to the point of which Helia does. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was really important, that scene with Susanna, where, you know, because for a long time I was like, why didn't Susanna just go on this trip and not Helia? Like, why is Helia here? But then you see they brought Susanna into chapter 6 to show the contrast. It's like even Susanna didn't have the like lack of capabilities that Helia had, right? Like Susanna did amazing things, you know. She fought like imaginary enemies on her own. She became like a great Valkyrie. She just, you know, and she always has like this upbeat attitude. That's Susanna, but Helia was not like that, you know. And even Susanna was caught in a situation where she's like, "Oh man, I don't know what I would be like, or what it would be like if I was in your situation," you know.
I find it kind of funny that as soon as she got out of her mental block and she decided to defeat the bad guy together, one of her best friends died, like immediately after.
Dude, it
Yeah.
instantly shat on. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's like the momentum of the chapter was going to be like, oh, everything's gonna be all right. You know, it was like building up to this sense of like, oh, Helia's overcoming her trauma, like good for her. And then it ends in the most absolutely devastating way possible. You know,
God damn it,
like,
Litos.
but isn't that's so that's so like real life, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's such a memorable moment what happens in the end. But before we get to that, let's talk about Corley's backstory, because we get a little bit of that before
Yeah.
she
Well, fuck
fights the
yeah.
dust.
I like
So
her.
there's
Yeah.
so there's the scene of Corley with Einstein, and this is
Oof.
really the first time that we get to see their relationship with each other, right?
With the Abyss Flower mention and all, immortality. Oh my god, it's so good.
I don't know, just like I feel like they really cooked with like having the main theme of part 2 be about fear. Cause like I don't know, like especially the last like, you know, God knows how many chapters. Like there's a lot of characters talking about their fears and insecurities and stuff, and like just like it's the vibe is a little bit darker in that sense, but they still try to keep that hopeful tone. Of course, we're kind of in despair mode right now, but like I want to see how they turn this. Like
Yeah, it's like ultimately Honkai 3, as we learned from part 1, is not a story about despair, right?
Yep.
But despair is a part of the story, and so there
There
it
is a
happened.
huge part of the story. You
It's like Honkai 3 is a story about overcoming despair, right? And so we have to be in that place, and we sure are in that place right now. And I really loved that the way they introduced Einstein and Corley's relationship was through the scene with the dog, right?
Oh
That
yeah.
she's losing Toto, and it was framed in this dynamic of mortality, you know, and the way that they used Einstein's, or the way that Corley used Einstein's like immortality like against her, right? And so there's that part where Corley's like, "Oh, you don't like, you're immortal, so you know you don't care like, you know, about people who like live or die or go, you know." And it's like you can imagine that to someone like Einstein, who's lost a lot of people, like to those of us who've really paid attention for a long time, like Einstein is a character who's seen, you know, very dear loved ones like taken from her right in front of her eyes, right?
Yeah.
And it just shows how much Einstein has matured in that the way that she treats Corley when Corley is like reacting to her. Einstein is like such a good motherly figure, you know. She treats her with respect. She treats her with like understanding. She doesn't really talk back to Corley. She's just trying to like help her process her feelings through everything. And then Corley, of course, asks the biting question, like, if I were to die on, you know, or if I was like on the operating table about to die, like, would you be here to save me? I don't think you would. And Einstein doesn't really answer that question at the time. But then the end of the chapter shows, like, in the end, like, Einstein was, like, there for her, or at least was trying to be there for her. She's on her way. She's 69 hours
still
away.
on her
but
way.
she's on her way. Like, in the end, like, Einstein was willing to do that for Corley. and it was just like it was such a good moment for their relationship.
Just they make me so emo. And also, what the fuck is Einstein gonna become playable? Okay,
Yeah, they got her a new design.
They got her a new design. Come on, like, please.
They're gonna keep blue balling us till we beg more.
Oh, oh my gosh, that fucking Twilight Sparkle. I'm gonna flash that on the screen when I edit the episode. Oh my god.
Yeah, awesome.
Sorry.
Any other thoughts before we leave Einstein?
Oh, so
I
on
found
Einstein?
it-
Yeah.
I think that's. I think you already covered pretty much about what I want to say, but yeah, I like the interaction between. I thought their interaction will be more like about how how she adopt Coralie and stuff. But then again, that will make no such sense for a story, for the flow of the story. But yeah, I really like their interaction. That's it.
I find it really sad after Corley died. We kind of get one past section from Einstein and Corley saying, "Oh, Corley, you're home. I made dinner for you, and then I have a movie we can watch together." I found that so sad because I'm like, "Oh, how's Einstein gonna react to this news?"
Oh,
We
just
still haven't quite seen it, right?
no. I mean, like when she's coming, but also just like, oh my gosh, dude, how dare the writers just stab me with a knife and then twist it? Okay, like that's sick and twisted, bro.
Yeah. And I think it just adds so much dimension to it that Einstein is a character that we already have such a long relationship with, through all of the history of Honkai Impact. Like, there's so much we know about her, and so we can speculate and imagine and feel like what Einstein would feel like dealing with all this stuff. So it's just really cool. I think then the next thing that we can talk about in Chapter 6 is Helia and Coralie's first meeting. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were both going through their stress at the time. Coralie with her, sense of mortality and her fight with Einstein, and Helia dealing with like her sense of like inadequacy, fighting in the yard, and then like Coralie witnessing that.
Yeah.
Also,
I still like how Corley is just like, "Ha, look at this loser," and then like watch the whole time until Helia beat the shit out of that robot. Like,
kind of forget that Rita has new feet.
Right, Rita. They didn't
She's-
waste a single second to show all the old characters when
Yep.
they can.
She's a teacher now.
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's that one line that Rita has where she's just like, one day technology will catch up to like, raw talent and genes at some point. And like I feel like that's so interesting because like, as a we've seen AFO, like it obviously doesn't look like the characters really have their Hersher powers, or at least it's not so much that they could just like, oh, May just brings out a Hersher of origin type shit, So it makes me wonder if like the technology in like once Kiana starts sealing Honkai in the moon is like, or at least like Honkai is disappearing, like quite literally. So they
Yeah.
don't have the same access to like Honkai energy like they used to anymore.
Mm.
And
But the moon ring brings them all to like the same level of capability still.
Yeah.
And I also think what was interesting, we're kind of getting off of it, but like the thought about the moon ring being like something that brought the whole team together, like it would the whole concept of it is like this unity of the team, like I don't know. I feel like thematically that is very Honkai Impact, But Rita, Rita is she's like matured too, right?
Yeah.
That the way that we knew her in part 1, at least before the ending, like she was very mysterious, very cold, or probably was like caught in a situation she couldn't be truly herself, right?
I still don't like how she switched sides so quickly. I was sus about her the entire time I was playing chapter 35.
Yeah. Well, I think being a good person was something that she always wanted to be, but her duty as like a maid, as an assassin for Otto, like put her in a situation where she couldn't really be herself, And now that she's relieved of all of that burden, like you can see her mentorship of like the Valkyries and especially Helia, like she like relates to her, You can see that she specifically had a sense of care for Helia, but Helia was too young to really understand all the
that's true.
dynamics. Mm-hmm. And so we have Helia fighting in the yard and Coralie
Monologuing.
watching her lose over and over and over again. And
Man.
I think that was just such a I kind of think that's the way that the story's going to go. This is my own speculation, is that in that scene it was like Helia had to overcome the training mecha on her own, right? And she continued to like fall and lose. And all that Coralie could do was just be an observer, But in the end, like Helia was able to overcome it on her own through her own hard work, But Helia would have to learn how to get up after falling down,
That's true.
And this is the situation that she's in right now.
How to get up after your comrade died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Also, it's a good thing that you bring up the Helia and Coralie first meeting, because after finishing chapter 7, I was kind of confused which one is their real first interaction. I was thinking, wait, have Helia really pinned Coralie down on the wall in the real world, or is it just on chapter 7? I was kind of confused, but thank God you said about Helia beating up the robot. So okay, so that's the real one. The other one is the other alternate, Helia and Coralie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we'll totally get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but I actually do want to touch upon like the miscommunication that Helia and Coralie have. Like that, like I thought it was like, well, miscommunication trope number 1, and number 2, like just like Coralie is trying to give Helia words of encouragement, just like everyone else in Helia's life as well, where they're just like, Helia, you're working really hard, you're enough. And then, Helia hears that and she's just like, ugh, but I'm not Durandal, like the whole time. And like she's like, a lot of Helia's feelings kind of really fester this chapter. And so like, it's just really sad to see them kind of go off on that note. Like, one of the last few things that Helia and Coralie did before Coralie kind of eats it, like, they were fighting, and then they made up for like 2 seconds, and then, Coralie gets fucking stabbed. Like,
Yeah, I think that's what adds to it, though, right? Is that Coralie and Helia reassess their relationship with each other, and the whole chapter, what is it, 6? Chapter 6 is all about them really coming to an understanding of like, actually, I really care about this person, and they understand like how much they strengthened each other and like how much they care about each other, and you get this feeling that they're like, okay, I can do anything as long as this person's right next to me, and I mean it's so important, like everything that Coralie says to her in the chapter, that Coralie's like, I like you for who you are, I like you and believe in like the Helia that you are now, and like your values as you have now, and that's going to be her guiding light throughout, when we get to chapter 7,
And she did.
So
I'm so emo about them.
Let's see. But before we get onto the death scene itself, let's talk just really briefly about some of the small things. I say small. The extra things that happened in chapter 6.
Oh,
so
yeah.
then chapter 6
I-
was the reveal of Ajita
Oh, yes.
being like an administrator of the system, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah, that was the reveal.
her interaction with Vita is so good.
Yeah. I just love how they're at each other's throats, you know? Like, Ajita has, like, this, like, cool aloofness to her, and then Vita's kind of, like, balding a little bit.
I think the explanation of it was that Vita likes to think about everything meticulously, while Ajita just likes to go for whatever she thinks, and that's why Vita doesn't really like Ajita that much.
Yeah, exactly. Aja, you have any thoughts on Ajita? No. Okay.
Ajita, me.
I-
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
There we go.
I love Ajita. I fucking love Ajita. Wait, I literally wrote notes down because there's so much to say. No, I'm kidding. What I really like about Ajita is that she's very prideful, right? She fucking loves her system. Her system is flawless, and if you say otherwise, you are wrong. I love that so much. But I like that she's kind of like detached from herself. I noticed that sometimes she refers to herself in the third person. She like mentions Dr. Ajita, and it's like, you are Dr. Ajita. Who are you talking to right now? I really do like that, because it's like, she isn't talking about quote unquote Ajita. It's like Ajita, the name, the person is just like a vessel for her ideas, what she has to do. It's like the perception of others. Like, wait, give me a minute. I know English, I swear. The perception
take your time.
is superior, but at the same time, because she needs the perception of others, she needs to have this name, this body, this appearance, blah 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 blah. I like that, especially because she's so morally gray. I remember this line from her in one of the early chapters that was like, I have no need for morals. And I was like, yes, Queen, that's right, you don't. I support
God, I
you.
love women in STEM.
I love a woman who doesn't follow morals.
I love her so much, and the interactions they've been giving to her with Vita, like my life sustenance. Whenever I'm doing a chapter and I'm getting so fucking bored, and then Vita or Ajita pop up like, oh, thank you God, thank you, little angels. I love them so much. I've been meaning to draw them, maybe someday.
Besides, make that someday today.
Yeah.
I've drawn Ajita a few times, but Vita, not yet.
I need to draw them. I actually had this one Vita piece like planned like literally back in 1.5, but I haven't done it yet.
Don't let your dreams be dreams. That's what Helia did, and look where she ended up.
Yeah.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
just see her dirty like that.
So we'll just wrap up the chapter 6 part with when it happens, right? So there's of course the scene where they're they're interrogating Litos, and they're like, actually I think you're like a good guy. You seem like a good guy. And he's like, I don't think you know anything about me, bro.
Like those kind of reviews themselves as like scum of the earth. Like
Yeah. And then like Helia and Corley being like, I think I misjudged.
yeah.
They're like, actually, I think this guy is kind of scary. And then, of course, we have the fight, and Helia being like, I could do it. I can totally do it. And then,
that section in the hallway was like so good.
yeah, it's like the visuals with the big eye showing up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the-
Her Shaw of the Void. Never forget.
It was like really, really like cinematic, right?
Yeah.
You get to see young Helia like running from her childhood fear, and
Mm.
you know, surrounded by like the comforting words of like Corley, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's gonna do it, guys. You know, and it like really built up into the moment, and then it happens so fast, right? The the actual moment. It's like the cutscene starts. Let's go, Corley, and Corley sees, you know, the sword about to come and kill Helia, and it's like for Corley, the last thing that she wants is to see, you know, her partner lose her life, right?
Yeah.
He's like Corley, more than her own death, is afraid of losing other people,
Mm.
you know, and so in that split second, Corley chooses like the self-sacrifice, you know.
Yeah. Also, before we getting, because I'm going to ask a question, and this question is kinda a bit of humorous. What do you? what do you guys think about her death, quote unquote?
Well, it's funny because in the moment they kind of play it off, or Corley tries to play it off as like, "I'll see you outside," and that's what we're all thinking, right? Is that
Yeah.
okay? It's
Yeah.
like a simulation, like okay, well let's just reset, and that's the way that the characters all play it off. But in the moment, Helly's just freaking out, right?
Yeah. Also, before that, do you guys remember that Helia and Coralie have this training practice fighting each other, and then that one cutscene when we finally beat Coralie, Coralie was like, "I'm
Oh,
dead."
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they tried
Yeah.
to like make it so unserious,
Yeah.
so that when it actually happens, like it's like, oh, you guys, I thought it was all just fun and games.
It's so sick and twisted. I'm just hearing that audio right
Also,
now.
I'm okay. I probably, for you guys, probably not so much to think about, but do you guys think there are any other suitable way to die in a simulation, right? Other than being what SAO did? Because for me, when I play that chapter, right? So I was like, when Coralie got stabbed, she just like meet me at the outside. So I was like, okay, meet her at the outside, so she will still be alive, right? And in deep in my head, I was like, please don't be SAO, please don't be SAO. I was like, okay, please don't be SAO on me. And then when Helia comes outside, it is SAO.
Yeah,
So
you
for
die in
me,
the game, you die in real life.
yeah, I
Life.
mean, do you guys think there are any other ways for a media or a game, an anime to have they handle death in a simulation other than SAO? Because it's kind of pull out from a bit from the immersion when I'm thinking all about SAO when we have actually character die here. Do you guys think there are any other ways?
Well, frankly, I mean, you know, there have been other simulation stories before SAO. It's just SAO is what we think about. You know.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of anime nerds. Also, Marty's like the big SAO fan, okay? He watches all the
Yeah,
fucking movies
I'm
and shit.
unapologetic for that. I like SAO.
Yeah, I
But
like so too. Don't worry.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
She died in the simulation. I don't know. Like, how else you're gonna tackle that
Wait, how do people die in Matrix though?
in the Matrix? Well,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like they get brain death. So you die if you die in the Matrix, then your brain basically just shuts off.
Okay, so that's the only way there.
It's really, I don't know. Maybe there are other solutions, but
Well, yeah.
so it is. But
Sorry,
we still
that's a
don't
bit empty.
really know what really
Yeah,
happened
what
to
really happened?
Corley.
That's
So
true.
we'll probably find out in a future chapter.
Yeah, the
So
VR
moving on to
I'm
chapter.
thinking
Oh,
they took her soul out, but okay.
yeah. So
That's like
it's Honkai Impact. They could do anything, right? So
Also, Marty, I I need to play that one clip of you going like, if you die in the game, you die in real life.
if you die in the game, you die in real life. Yeah, it was a good moment for me. I was like, no way. Okay, chapter 7. We'll probably hurry this up a little bit more, but chapter 7 starts with Helia, freaking out, bro. She's not doing so hot, and
Oh, yeah.
Let
And
me think
her
about.
inner Siren comes out to play.
Yeah, and so the chapter already starts basically in media res. It starts in like the middle of the story where Helia has already started her contract. I'm gonna say quote unquote contract with Alter Helia, right? And she starts having these premonitions of another life, and so from the very beginning she's seeing this other life where she's with a Coralie and they're, you know, in school together and going through all of the Valkyrie trials and stuff, and you can see that it's almost like Alter Helia and Coralie had a much more overt type relationship,
Yep.
but they could never be truly open with each other, right?
Mhm.
It's like our Coralie and Helia in the end were able to really express their feelings, in
Yeah.
chapter 6. But in chapter 7, in the Alter world, it's like they never could really be honest with each other,
That's true.
And but like they, I remember when I was playing through it, it was like I had this constant sense of unease,
Oh
where I
yeah,
was
that's
like,
true.
oh, we're getting all these like cute, fluffy moments with Coralie and Helia, but we already know what happened to Coralie, and of course the
Mm.
question of like, who even is this? Like, what's going on?
And then we have a few NPC, and then we have like the notes. I read the notes though. That's pretty cool. I like it. All the notes. What is it called again?
It's like called the Valkyries or
The
something.
Valkyrie something,
Valkyrie
right?
Valkyrie Remnant.
Chronicle Remnants.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those things. Someday we will. Someday I think we can do some some recording just to explore all of this note, the remnant of the Valkyrie. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Valkyrie Chronicles Remnant. It's like this in-depth story of like the tragedy of the alternate world, right?
Yeah.
And I'd like to see them continue to build on this idea. I mean, they have to. They gotta. We have to learn more about the alternate Helia, but most of the flashback is about this alternate world where the Valkyries that we know didn't have a Kiana and basically tried their best to fight off the calamity, but failed in the end, right? And so Alter Helia came up in a world that exists without, our main heroes because they all perished.
Okay. Is it?
And
Sorry. Is it just me, or do anyone also think that this alternate world can actually be happen 50,000 years ago in like the real Earth, right? The real story.
I think they haven't really clarified on that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the situation kind of same. Base. We have like base as a home, base 1, base 2, base 20, or something like that.
Right. It's
I
it's
mean,
very.
it
Go ahead.
kind of sounds like a secret third era to me. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I wasn't expecting to be back on Earth. Really, it's like an Earth
Yeah.
story.
And
You know?
about how the Moon Grace Knight wants to be president of St. Freya and is obsessed with bitter melons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's like all of
I
the knights of the remnant stories are basically just like they are our characters, right? But
Yeah.
without Kiana.
I will say though, I don't know, this chapter also kind of like has that feeling of just like when does like regular Helia start and Dark Helia end? Like the
Mhm.
lines are very blurry until you get to the final part. So you don't know what is
What to
like,
make of it?
yeah, what to make of it and what is real.
Mhm.
And like number one, that's trippy, but also number two, like specifically for the Valkyrie Remnant Chronicles, I actually don't think that the characters are actually are like people from Earth, but rather that like the Mars history is changing in a way after absorbing Coralie's data that it's understandable for the Earth motherfuckers. Because like, how do I explain this in like a simple way? Like they have Corley's data now, so they're changing the data to be more, or to help assimilate the Earth people, to try to like scare the shit out of them, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
well, it's
the computer doesn't want like people here, you know? But obviously, like Goddess Senna is like going like, we can't continue like this, and trying to bring people to like help them.
yeah. I think it's one of those still unanswered questions that we, if we had a 6-hour chapter, we'd probably have our answers. But,
I'm just sitting here going like, man, I'm gonna have to wait 8 weeks for the next one. Like,
yeah, but I think something that they bring up is that what was it, the avatar creation system. I can't remember the exact name of it, but the avatar creation system is doing something with the data of Helia, Corley, and all the Earth people, and that plays into why Teresa is like Sleepy Teresa and why Durandal's like Small Durandal and whatever is going on with
like
Helia.
a note of like the Hershers cannot log into the computer, you know?
Yeah. So
Except for like Kiana.
still so many unanswered questions, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. What else about this?
Oh yeah.
is world?
Speaking about the blurry line earlier, okay, the whole chapter after like Coralie death, right? I question Durandal decision a lot because she decided to bring Helia along for another mission, which is, for me, it's so irresponsible. Like, how can you bring someone who are still mourning or in or in distress to continue doing the thing that make her friend kill? I was like, are you okay, Durandal? Are you thinking this through? Like, that
I
was
don't think
like
he was.
always
Well,
questioning
that
that.
is one of the things, though, right? Is that Durandal like let Helia be a part of it because she thought it would help, but
Mm.
later on, when she's in the library with Dreamseeker, she's like, "Bro, I don't know. I thought it might be helpful for her, but I messed up." Like, I think it was like for the first time we really saw Durandal not being, like dealing with like her inadequacies, her own inadequacies, right?
Mm.
Like Durandal completely misread the situation, and she owns up to that.
I did find it funny and also heart-wrenching how they were just like, alright, it's been 10 minutes, Helia, you done mourning? We gotta get back on the grind.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too is that Helia was also like, I want to get back in there. Let me kill that
Yeah.
motherfucker. You know, like,
Yeah, it's like they read Helia as like, oh, she wants to like deal with it right now, right?
Mm.
And from all the experiences that they had with Helia, like, well, this is the first time they've seen Helia like this, right? And so they
Yeah.
thought maybe being active was going to help her, but clearly it was too much, which is understandable. And I think the whole thing is that they did act fast, but I think they have a line kind of about that, right? They were like, we don't want to sit here doing nothing when the culprit is like, when there's things that we can still try to do,
Mm.
So not wanting to waste time if they can
Yeah.
resolve it like in a reasonable amount of time. I think they say something along those lines. Maybe not. But I know a lot of people had problems with that, though, that like they seem to move on from Corley's death real quick.
Yeah,
But
at least just let Helia, be
I
rest.
also think that the characters, if you think about all the way back to what's her name? Himiko. If you think all the way
Oh,
back
okay.
to Himiko, like when Himiko quote unquote disappeared, right?
Okay.
They didn't let themselves stop to mourn,
Yeah.
They did everything that they could until they really knew that Himiko was gone, And like Coralie is like gone, she's like dead, right?
That.
To
Mhm.
them. But they're still going to try. Like we learned that in chapter 7 that Sele and the Divine Key haven't actually arrived yet. So they haven't actually done everything that they can do, So it's almost like it's in the Hyperion crew's DNA to like not grieve until it's truly over,
Yeah,
And
it's not
that's
over until it's Jover, guys.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I didn't believe Coralie was dead is just because Himiko didn't even die in chapter 6. She died in chapter 9.
So you're gonna say the chapter 9 then?
Yeah, actually, and on that topic is like basically the same thing happened to Coralie. She in chapter 4, all the way back in part 1, Coralie like short circuits her brain chip and
You mean Bronya?
Yeah.
What did I say?
You say Coralie.
Coralie. Bronya short circuits her brain chip and get it. I think they say brain dead, right?
Yeah.
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 She was
Brain dead,
essentially brain dead
comatose.
until Fu-Hua came in and
and then Fu-Hua comes in
face.
and saves her, right? But it's
Like-
it's basically like a parallel situation right
Mhm.
now. It's like for all we know, Coralie's just brain dead.
Yeah. Of course, I'll say
So-
this to people and they'll be like, "You're coping," and we're just like, "No."
It is
there's
kind of a
evidence of
cope.
this.
It's a cope, but I think the evidence isn't there that like this is necessarily like it. It could be.
Especially since
Coralie
the
could be dead,
talk has been about meeting the gods, I feel like Helia's gonna wish for one of the gods to revive Coralie or whatever.
Yeah, Helia's
Yeah.
just like, I don't give a crap about any of this like history bullshit. Like, where's your god? Like,
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. I think it's so funny how like no bullshit like Helia is throughout the whole chapter.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Speaking about bullshit, I also earlier I said like Durandal questionable decision, right? But I think I found Durandal quite funny at this time around because there's like one scene where they are in the library, the Serapium library, and she was like
I got this, guys.
so Dreamseeker was like be careful because you can get into Sarah dream, and they're like, I got this, I've been into dream many times. And then when she took a step forward and suddenly the world's upside down, and I was like, that's the funny shit I've seen in this chapter yet.
Yeah. I think that was such a good moment.
Yeah.
And like Dreamseeker and like the animation of Dreamseeker like having to carry
Yeah, that's so
Durandal.
funny, bro. The motion, the running motion while carrying Durandal. Oh my god.
Yeah, and how Dream Seekers, like at that moment, I only thought one thing. Oh no. And then
Yeah.
like isn't that what we all think when we boot up this game?
Yeah. And I like that they had that same thought on both ends. It was just like a nice little bit of storytelling. And I
Yeah.
think it's good for Durandal to have a little bit of imperfection. I think she was
Yeah.
a little too like Miss Perfect in
Yeah.
part 1.
I
And
mean,
like
in her,
now that she's resolved, all of her inner trauma for the most part, she's like, lost her game a little bit.
yeah.
she has a dad, but lost some game.
But in her defense though, she just get that out of there pretty quick. So yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good moment for Durandal, and they even
Yeah.
bring back like some part 1 music to get you all hyped, Let's see. I think something you bring up the library, and that brings
Yeah.
up the first reappearance of Senadina, right? She sees like Dreamseeker is alone, and she sees the Firefly,
Oh yeah, Firefly.
and it suddenly is like reminded of Senadina, and then gets her first evidence of like who Senadina is. And something they also bring up for the first time in the library is like this big lore bombshell that
Ooh.
Lee Toast and
Sarah.
and Senadina are not from the planet. They're aliens.
Yep.
And one of the documents talks about this tribe that travels the universe, like seeding civilizations and stuff, and it's like it'll be interesting to see them like build on that concept of like these it's so funny because we already were like, oh, Mars is like 1 billion years ago. It's like the farthest back in like the interstellar timeline,
Mhm.
and then suddenly the chapter brings up is like, no, there's civilizations even before Mars, which I mean makes sense because the cocoon like was already like a amalgamation of civilizations from before. But like this idea that there's an interstellar race of space gods like out there seeding the universe. It's like such big implications for like the entire Hoyoverse cosmology,
Mhm.
Insanity, bruh.
Yeah, that was like a big lore drop. I think that
Also, that's the last part where we saw Dreamseeker and Randall, right?
yeah.
In the new area there.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
they go to the Tower of the Gods and they find the memorial to like Senadina's death or something like that, right? And then they get attacked by some entity, and that's it. That's the last
That's
time
it.
we get to see them.
Yep.
I can't wait to wait 9 weeks to see what that's all about.
Yeah.
I'm in pain. Like,
Yeah,
oh.
we're going real slow now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what's it called? There's also the whole thing, like, especially throughout the, outside of like the Dreamseeker and Durandal, like Helia's like, she's making pacts out here
Oh,
with like,
yeah.
Dark Helia and stuff. Like,
It's very
but
violent.
Oh, very
yeah,
violent.
Yeah, she stabbed her own heart so she couldn't feel emotions anymore.
like, I know, like, at least at the end they kind of clarified that, like, yeah, Helia made these sacrifices, but she still kind of has a heart because she's still like hanging on to Coralie's words. But I think that like just the fact that they made Helia live through like Dark Helia's reality is like a really cool way to tell some of the stories of like the people on Mars, because like they did that shit with Second Key, where they used like already like established characters as stand-ins for people of the past, to make them live throughout history. And I was just like, it's really fitting that they bring back Durandal for this chapter, because she's experienced the same thing, and Helia's going through it too now. Like, so I just like, this peak. That's it, peak.
Also, I like how they kind of the expectation that we have that, oh yeah, Helia will be the dark Helia once her travel, her journey with the with the alternate Helia done, she will be the dark Helia. But no, Helia keep herself and still still being herself. So I'm kind of surprised that they went that way, because I think it's cool. I think it's cool. Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Instead of
because people are like, oh yeah, all right, we're gonna get Dark Helia arc. We're gonna get like her Hersher of Thunder moment, and I do think like Helia is going to like upgrade in some way through all of this, right?
yeah,
But like, it's not a situation where like Helia is going to give in to despair. I like that despite everything that happened, like there's the scene right where Helia's like, these people are suffering, like even though I've lost everything,
yeah,
like I can't forget my training as a Valkyrie, and I think it just like really builds on once again everything that part one established, and the teaching that like Kiana and her seniors left with her, like and that's the fundamental difference between our Helia and alternate Helia.
yeah. That's
Is
what they
that
separate.
yeah, is that Helia knows what it means to fight for all that's beautiful in the world. She understands like who she is as a Valkyrie, and she, is remembering like the things that Coralie left with her, and that's like the fundamental difference between her and alternate Helia. But it's so interesting to see like the contrast between the two. That this is a path that Helia could have been on, because for all intents and purposes, like they're the same person. It's a Helia and a Helia, but one had great mentors, one really truly felt love, and alternate Helia, all she had was like
All she
I guess
had
despair.
was people who eventually died.
Yeah, she had people who died. She had that sense of despair. She had, it was like a rivalry in her world. Everything about the alternate world is just rivalry and everyone trying to posture themselves above each other.
Mm.
Yeah, hold on. I also think it's just interesting that like a lot of the Helia's like classmates and stuff. Well, there's like that one group of bullies, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
I saw that, I was just like, who the fuck are these small children? Like,
Actually, that's the contrast again, right? Is that I don't think people were necessarily all that mean to Helia at Saint Freya. I mean, maybe a couple of them said a couple things, but like people were just so much more like judgmental in the alternate world, and that like affected Helia's own like sense of herself,
man.
Also, there's like, I think I can give like one a bit minuscule complaint that it's kind of weird to see the NPC model, the classmate model is a bit more younger than Helia and Coralie. I mean, even I can see Coralie is like older than the NPC model. It was like, are you doing the right thing, Dev?
I
Please,
think you're
like,
kind of right about that because
yeah,
like
Yeah.
Coralie and
Well, why
Helia are
is like
supposed to be in their
Helia?
20s, right?
yeah.
Like,
And
why the fuck is
the
Helia the only
classmates are like
tall
kids.
person there? Like,
Yeah.
well, I guess that just goes to show like how bad it is. They're sending out child soldiers.
Yeah.
Like,
And also, I guess Helia's like a fish out of water, right? She's just
Mm.
bigger than everybody else.
Helia, why are you so tall?
Also, this NPC dies. That's it.
Dude, some of the
I,
way that the NPCs die is like crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's violent.
I think the most violent thing, and I think I remember like two parts of it. Like one of it is that one girl that's supposed to pull the pin on the grenade. Is it like not the? Is it like she failed to pull the pin that she get mauled by the monsters,
I
or
yeah,
think
she
Helia
didn't
just
one of
doesn't
them have
know.
their spine taken out or something?
Oh shoot!
Yeah, no, that's the bomb one. The one
That's the
who
bomb
was
one.
on the bomb, like her spinal cord was like
Yeah, she
or something.
never pulled the pins on her grenade, right?
I think
Ugh.
Helia isn't quite sure what happened ultimately.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
I didn't hear the explosion, so I don't know what happened.
But
And so
what she
in her
should
mind,
do
she's like
happen,
filling in. Yeah,
what she should do happen is she shot a girl on her leg, right? And
yeah.
let that's like, are you kidding? This is a gacha game, okay?
I think that of course is like the turning point moment
Yeah, the
where
turning point.
like Helia herself like could see herself being in that level of despair. But the
Mm-hmm.
moment where alternate Helia kills what was her name? I'm suddenly forgetting. Well,
It's
Just
the pink-haired
NPC
one.
and NPC
Well,
number 3.
yeah, where alternate Helia kills her comrade, like that's the line that our Helia would never cross,
Yep,
right?
that's true.
That's the turning point in their relationship. And ultimately it was because alternate Helia made that decision and that it turned out in the end that Coralie died anyway. It's like what truly like led her to spiral into despair, that
D-
he's become like the ultimate sinner and for what? Just to lose everything anyway.
that Coralie image though is so grim, man. She lost her hand and stuff.
yeah, I didn't even notice that she'd lost like her arm until like Marty pointed it out, and I was just like, oh my god, like
Yeah, violence.
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 Gore of my comfort character.
Yeah, like
Oh well, stuff.
Yeah, so I think to wrap up the chapter 7 discussion, I almost feel like we said everything already. It's like Helia in the end discovers that she's not like alternate Helia, that she, has her values as a Schicksal Valkyrie.
I mean, we haven't talked about the last scene where hooded Helia takes off her hood, becomes Super Saiyan, and wants to kill Helia.
Yes.
True.
Yeah. That in the end, like, we learned that alternate Helia became like a cyborg.
God, I still find it so funny how alternate Helia is also just like, I hated you since you logged into this bitch, and then like, and just slowly kind of like taking certain things away from Helia while she's in the system, and like just the fact that she also kind of sees Dark Helia like outside of the system too, it just makes me go like, does the computer have like the capability to like, give like illusions and shit outside of the computer if they've been in it for too long?
Yeah, it's really strange. Actually, something that they bring up in the chapter over and over is this. Well, they keep asking the question, when did this all begin? And like, it's something that they want you to think about, but I don't think they give a clear answer to. It's like, when did Dark Helia first show up? And the conclusion that I came to, and I don't know if this is how it will play out, is that Dark Helia's visions only really begin after Ajita manipulates the system, and basically lets them skip to the other time nodes. So I'm like, I wonder if Ajita has something to do with it in some way.
Oh, you mean the one that they travel using payphone?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay.
only after they traveled through the payphone for the first time and messed with the system that Helia starts having like the visions of Dark Helia, So I'm like,
Okay. I
I'm
missed that part.
wondering if that's
Really?
the catalyst that like caused things to begin. But
To
I'm not
me,
sure.
it seemed like hooded Helia started appearing when Coralie died, but
No, well, it's a little bit, but well, hooded Helia only shows up at that time, but the eye, like the vision that she has of the
yeah,
eye
the
in the
eye.
sky, begins before Helia or before Coralie dies, right? I think the first time she has that vision is when she fights Toast for the first time and loses. Trying
Well,
to
she
save.
also had a first deal that we do not know about, so maybe she's been here like all this time and we're only now getting her appearing.
Yeah, it's like the timeline isn't 100% like tight, so we'll see. We'll have to see if they build up on it. It's just this chapter ends on such a cliffhanger. It's like
Yeah.
we don't
This
Man,
we
is
have no
chapter,
Helia
idea what
gonna
happened.
get bodied? That's what I want to know.
this
Like,
chapter ends on multiple cliffhangers. It's like one giant blue ball.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, what a point to leave us on. And then they released the album, so this is supposed to be the end of the arc.
we don't even get like cinematic stuff. So, but yeah. Also,
So
one complaint I have. I always complain from me, but one thing I think the boss battle is a bit underwhelming.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there are some
That's
people who are like, there are people who are like, oh, part 2 hasn't had a boss battle in a long time. And it's like, actually, we did have one in chapter 7,
yeah.
but
It's just
people,
forgettable.
it's not very memorable because
Yeah.
This
like a
this
mob.
did feel like a second to last chapter and not a last chapter, I will say.
Yeah, it's
Just
like
because of all the
we're-
questions we got.
yeah, we're so close to the end, I think, but like, I was expecting this to be the last chapter, but I guess not. Well, because what are some?
The next one being EX7EX certainly says that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit strange because we have so many open-ended questions still. Like, bring it all the way back to the beginning. So the question that is prime actually is like, why are they in the Shu War? Like, what do they need to solve in this situation? And they've gotten involved with a whole lot of stuff, but I don't think that's completely answered yet, right? We won't really know that answer until they get to the end of the stage. Another thing is, what's Baiji's part in all of this? Because chapter 5 was basically Baiji like getting all involved, and like he's supposed to be at the center of this whole Shu War thing, but and then it ended on him like discovering or like he's trying to look into the astral ring or something, and then we haven't seen Baiji since chapter 5, you know.
Yeah, and there's also that thing at the very beginning of the chapter where, you know, the box that Sinadina appeared out of in the prologue?
Mhm.
Sanchi said, "Oh yeah, that's Baiji's treasured box. I thought he'd be sleeping with it by now." And I'm like, what's that about?
Yeah, there's so much to Baiji that is still like unclear, and they haven't really come back to that. There's all that. There's of course the circumstance with what's her name, with Kiana, and whatever was going on with the memo keeper. So
I don't
lots
think
of
we're gonna get that
unanswered
soon.
questions
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. Oh,
we'll see.
Sanche, we're really in it now. Like, just
Fortune doesn't smile down on us, Sanchi.
okay. Well, do you guys have any finishing thoughts before we end the episode?
I mean, we can just go from the top, like just last thoughts.
Yeah.
True. Okay. Well, last thoughts. I hope that we get the Helia stuff resolved sometime soon, or at least like licks of it.
My hope is that we at least get anything resolved. There's so many questions at this point that I'm like, actually, what the heck is going on in this story anymore?
Mhm. So my last thought will be my last thought is mostly about how the story progression going. Keep this kind of story progression, and don't. I think this is better than the three arc. I mean 3-part story for an arc, because it takes it takes fewer times to actually understanding the story, instead of we going to wait for a week or for a few days to continue Act 2 and stuff. And I think that's it from me. Just story progression is really good right now. So they have to keep going, doing this.
Aja, any final thoughts before we end the episode?
I liked the story in general a lot. And as it was already said, the story progression is going well. It's much better than what it started out as with chapter 1 in the prologue, where it was just like an info dump. But I do wish that the story had like more moments to breathe, because even though it's shorter now without the cliffhangers, it's still 3 hours long, and it does save like between some parts, but it's kind of like you have to play it in one go. Especially because the chapters in the Chinese server come out 1 month earlier, and I already see all the spoilers. I literally do not log into my main account anymore because I know I'm gonna see spoilers. Like, that's messy. So, but other than that, been going well, I think.
Catch up the global servers. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, that
Yeah.
would actually like fix so many issues when it comes to like story spoilers. But I'm not sure if Mihoyo will want to invest the resources to do that.
I mean,
Which is
PGR can do it. Punishing Girl Raven can do it.
And PGR can do it. Come on,
Yeah,
come
come
Mihoyo.
on.
You can't
PGR
keep
can
making
do it.
fucking excuses like this.
Yeah.
You guys make like God knows how like a shit ton of fucking money. Like, please.
Yeah, I was so happy when I went into chapter 6 and 7 actually blind, because that hasn't happened in forever due to spoilers.
Yeah. It's always day one. Motherfuckers put in spoilers. It's usually why.
Yeah,
Like,
I literally cannot log into my main anytime, because the moment I log into it's either Honkai Star Rail spoilers, Honkai Impact spoilers, whatever fucking Universe game spoilers. Like, yo, the fucking story just came out. Chill, chill. I have
Mark
a job.
your spoilers, guys. Mark your
please.
spoilers.
Yeah, please mark your spoilers and hashtag them, or else I will be in your walls. Okay, please
Usually-
note this.
Yeah, I usually see community post. I saw one the other day where it was like, Chapter 70X is coming Thursday, and I'm like, oh, that's a sign for me to get off YouTube that day.
Yeah, it's
Literally-
really bad on YouTube because you can't even block shit on YouTube or like put like like mute stuff there, and it's just like I don't know. I feel like when it comes to that, it's just like you just have to like not look at certain channels because it's always like the same offenders most of the time that like will post stuff off the CN, and it's just like I mean, like for people that want to look, it's fine, but like a lot of people don't. They want to experience the stuff in English, and like me and Marty like spoil ourselves mainly because it's just like number one, it helps us plan stuff, for the future, but also number two, like motherfuckers will shut up and like
I don't like. I want to get spoiled on my own terms.
yeah.
Winning
But
mentality.
I don't like the fact that I have to do that. Like
Yeah. So, mark your spoilers.
Literally the other day, you know how Twitter like sends you notifications about like random people's posts when you're not
oh
active for
yeah,
a
I hate it when they do that shit.
It's been doing it to like every single account of mine. And the other day I got one that was like, Honkai story leaks. And I was like, dude, I cannot fucking escape from them. I swear to God.
Yeah,
It was so bad because it was
motherfuckers not
literally
being considerate of other
information.
people. But yeah, okay. We're gonna end the episode here because some motherfuckers gotta go sleep. But yeah, okay. I guess we'll do some final words. I would just like to say it was a pleasure to have you guys on call today for this roundtable, and it's always fun to talk about story with y'all. And would you guys like to plug any sort of socials or anything like that?
I'm gonna plug. Play Infinity Nikki.
Hell yeah! Play Infinity Nikki. Add
Play
me.
Hello Charlotte. That's a good
I'm gonna play Heaven's Burns Red then.
Yeah, Heaven Burns Red. There we go.
Wuthering Waves.
Woo-wah.
I've been playing it. I'm saved. Ever since I got my PC, I've been free of the Oliver's curse. It's been so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been
Well,
so
when 9-week updates now, you'll have a whole lot of time to play other things. So
Yeah,
live a wide life.
play Alchemista.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll be back again for another episode in the future.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
This is P-Salt, signing out.
Yep. Let's fight for all that's beautiful in the world.
Let's fight for all that's beautiful in the world.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.